Hey guys, welcome back to the All Sports Pass. My name's Eli, and I'm your host tonight. And joining me tonight is Tucker Ownby. Of course, Tucker, thank you for joining me tonight.
Yep.
Um, and we got some things to talk about. Of course, we got Gibbs, Elizabethton, and we're going to be previewing a little bit into Red Bank. But before we get into it, you already know I got to start with the verse of the day.
Mm.
Today's verse comes from 1 John 2:23, and it says, "No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also." And before we get in this video, leave a like, subscribe for more high school football content. Without further ado, let's begin. So, of course, Tucker, y'all traveled up to Elizabethton, and I have to say, like, it was a bit of an upset
Yep.
when, like, according to On 3 with because they had Elizabethton winning 28-26. Y'all go up there, y'all dominate the game,
Mhm.
but, however, keep in mind, y'all actually were not expecting to go up to Elizabethton at first, and I actually talked about this with you, a while back, and well, I'm sorry, a week ago, I mean.
Yeah.
But, like, Anderson County, Alcoa, and everyone expected Alcoa to defeat Anderson County. That did not happen.
No.
1-point upset for the Mavericks on the win, and I was curious, but what was your reaction to seeing that final result?
Well, it was Halloween night. I got done trick or treating. Got in the house and I was watching the game. And I thought at first it looked like it was going to be what we all expected. I'm pretty sure Alcoa was up big at the half, or they could have been up a lot more than they were actually. But before the half, I think they had a mistake or two that cost them seven. And so it really wasn't that big of a lead going into half, but I mean, it still looked like it was going to be a pull away game. And as that second half approached, man, it just looked like it wasn't going to be the game we were all thinking it was going to be. Anderson County was, they were marching. They kept putting up points. Deep balls was their game that night, and I don't know, just seeing that when the final score hit. I don't know. It was just all a big shock. I didn't know what would happen, and I started thinking back to the South Dual game. What could have happened if we had a three-way tie? Stuff like that. So it was a lot, honestly. I'm pretty sure we were all ready for Cherokee. Uh, I know some coaches. They were like, "Yeah, we've already got Cherokee film. We're ready for them." But that was just big in that moment. Just thinking like, okay, well, now we got to prepare a lot differently. We got to go on the road now, 2 hours. So it was real big. It was real big.
And, like you mentioned, of course, with that upset, of course, the region, like, regardless where he finished, like, the opening round remains the same because CWSAA went ahead and, decided to change it up a bit because had y'all, because basically the second place team, Alcoa, it would have basically been like how Gibbs was the last 3 years in the 2 seed. They would have traveled to Greenville,
Right.
because Greenville defeated dang, who? Sorry, Carter, sorry.
Carter.
Yeah, sorry, hey, it's been a rough week,
It
man.
has. It
Yeah,
has.
but yeah, but anyway, with that, Greenville defeating Carter, and then Greenville is gonna be hosting, but I'm gonna have to take a look at that real quick. Cause here's the thing, guys, just a little disclaimer, I don't cover Greenville, so this is probably the hardest I'm gonna be honest, it's probably the hardest time of year for me to cover, honestly, because basically, it's like a whole new season. You're playing teams you'd never heard of before. So, yeah, and Greenville was hosting, in Greenville, like I say, host the dude, we just talked about.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, sorry, guys. Hey, like I said, it's just been a rough week, so just show me some grace on that. Yeah, but Greenville's going to be hosting White County. Oh wait, no, never mind. Sorry. Let's rewind a bit. What I was meaning was I meant to say hosting in the second round. That's what I meant to say.
Yep.
But yeah, the region basically like the bracket's been shook up a bit. So now
Hmm.
Greenville's going to be hosting White County, and y'all were going to be playing the winner of Red Bank and Macon County. And if Macon County would have won, then y'all would have hosted.
We would have been home. Yep.
Yeah, but then Red Bank was able to hold on. Of course, the most dreaded words that no kicker wants to hear, especially from Macon County, wide left.
Hmm.
And then of course now y'all are going to be traveling down to Red Bank, and I have a bit of like I guess an odd question for you. Like this will be the first time I think in a while that like I think probably the first time in your high school career that you are playing a team on grass.
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
like y'all are on turf, and how do you think that the grass and how do you think the grass will have an effect? Because y'all are used to turf basically.
Right. I'm excited. I know me and a couple of the other guys. We're really excited to get out on a grass field. It's been so long. Um, I remember playing back at John Tarleton. That used to be where we all grew up playing, and just remember those grass fields. And I think this game will kind of bring me back to playing little league. Just getting that memory, that thought in, and I think it'll be same kind of game for us. I don't think it'll matter much. Um, I've always thought that I've liked playing on grass better. We have a practice field that's grass. Um, not a lot of the guys want to go down there when we have to, but I always enjoy it and I always like it. So yeah, I'm excited to play on the grass field, but I don't think it'll matter too much.
Yeah, and in my opinion, well, I used to be on the turf side, but then the more I like watched more games and stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, grass is the way to go.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I will say this though that Red Bank, I'm sorry, before we get more into Red Bank, let's talk about Elizabethton. Of
Yep.
course, y'all traveling 2.5 hours, 2 hours to get up there. Y'all stop and I wish I had the picture pulled up, but I don't. Y'all like y'all took up a whole dang Texas Roadhouse,
We
and
did.
hey, we're not sponsored by the way, but hey,
No.
Texas Roadhouse, if you want to sponsor, go email me by going to the email in my about page.
Hit
Um,
it up.
but when I saw that, I was like, I feel bad for whoever's paying for that because they're gonna be broke.
It's expensive. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I will say though, the fact that of course, like when y'all sat down in that restaurant and ate, like, what were your thoughts like heading into the game? Like, because it was like I say your last stop before you go up to Citizens Bank Field,
Yep.
and I'm sorry, Citizens Bank Stadium. Um, what was going through your mind? Like, was it nervousness, anxiety? Like, were you thinking that y'all were not gonna be able to pull it off? Like, what?
Um. Well, honestly, uh, I don't think too many of our guys were really thinking about the game. I know table to table, every time you look over, you just had a group of guys just laughing, and I think that was more of a looking and seeing like we have that brotherhood, we have that bond. I know at my table we were all laughing, cutting up jokes, and I think getting your mind out of that game for a little bit. I think it helps. It definitely calmed me, and I know the people at my table it calmed us down. Just getting our minds off that game for a little bit, and obviously that bus ride, getting back on and going to the stadium. Actually, that's where you got to lock it in. But I think getting off and having that food and having that bonding time with your, boys. I think that was a great time to just let the game flow out of your head and just focus on you and your team, um, and just having a good time. I think that's a big part of travel. I think sometimes a lot of teams take travel a little too serious. I think at the end of the day, it's just you, your team, and you're traveling to have fun, go play football.
And there's actually part of why I asked this. Of course, like the last 2 3 years, Gibbs played Greenville. Like Greenville, of course, is a very different kind, plays a very different kind of football.
Mm.
But luckily, y'all are going to be playing them this year, more than likely. But the thing that I have to ask is like, what would you say? Like, of course, when y'all had defeated Carter 31-28, like what we little did y'all know at the time that Anderson County was going to upset Alcoa. And how does it feel that basically you all were not going to be playing Greenville for the fourth year in a row?
It took a lot of weight off of us. I would say that this year their air raid has definitely improved, and I think it takes a lot off of us. Now, if we continue our success, we could see them in the fourth round. But I think having that that extra, I don't know. I think it's different now that in the second round, knowing that there's a different team on the other side other than Greenville. I think that takes a lot out of your head. I know in the past few years it was always like, you know, comparing ourselves to Greenville. everybody get to the second round. It's Greenville. I think it takes a lot off you going into a new playoff era. Um, the feeling's different, and I think it honestly can continue to our success. Not having them second round, but they're a good team this year. That offense has really opened up for them, and if we continue our success, we could very well see them later in the playoffs.
Yeah, and yeah, and the other thing is this is like I think like what really was shocking to me was like because basically the Greenville Elizabethton rivalry actually not because they're in the district same region as each other, but because they have a long history with each other. And believe it or not, Elizabethton actually leads that series.
Mm.
Um, but however, I was 2 years in a row, I was expected by this result. Like, of course, I remember 2024, Greenville defeated Elizabethton 44-7, and then they win this year up 48 nothing at the half, and then they end up Elizabethton getting on the board, and yeah, and so then just Elizabethton, they go up, y'all go up there, and I remember earlier in the week seeing On Three reporting giving Elizabethton a 52% chance of winning.
Hmm.
And I will say this, that when game time came around, like, because like I said, I wasn't able to travel up there, but I was able to listen to a broadcast, and so Elizabethton got the ball to start. And what would you say, like, as soon as that kickoff happened, like, you get Elizabethton a 3 and out, you get a 3 and out on Elizabethton. What do you, what are you thinking, like, when you see them on the field for the first time?
I thought it was a bit. Um, I felt it was a bit awkward, honestly. Watching film and just looking at these guys, and all you hear all week is, they're big, they're going, come right at you. They're, crazy good. They're physical, like, and I feel like whenever I seen them, especially in warm ups, I see them coming out there. It was like, this looks like, a high school team, and I can't really recall who it was, but then there was just people all week saying, "All right, these dudes are huge. They're going to be all over you." And I think it just took a toll whenever people would say that. And whenever we got up there, kickoff, it's like, man, these dudes look just like us. And I think that calmed a couple of our players down because I think that can take a toll on your team if you got a bunch of people saying negative things like oh, this team's a lot better than this, they're a lot bigger, I think that can hurt a team when they hear that kind of stuff. But when I see them, they just look like a regular team. And I get when somebody puts them above us as a percentage to win the game. I mean, usually a 2 seed would beat a 3 seed or should. So I get the understanding behind that. Giving them the that win percentage. But at the end of the day, it just mattered about who locked in the most during kickoff and who played lights out and who played their hardest all throughout the game and who could finish the game. But there was ups and downs. But really seeing that team at kickoff, it was just a different feeling than seeing them on film.
Yeah, and another thing I wanna ask is, like, from what I heard, because I had a buddy who played for Cherokee and that's in Elizabethton's region. Um, he said something about the environment up there. What was the environment like up there? Because in my opinion, like, when I've seen, like, older games, that stadium looks so much like a small college stadium, and
Hmm.
it's just and what was the environment just like up there?
Um, I will say it's different than what people tell you. Honestly, it could have just been like it was colder, but and rainy. But honestly, I didn't see as many fans as I thought I would see up there. All week we were practicing. We had a speaker just blaring cowbells right behind our offense, and we were expecting to come into a huge atmosphere. And honestly, I don't know if it's just because we shut them down early and kind of blew up the scoreboard, but there was hardly that home side just wasn't really getting as much noise as I thought they would. I think our fans traveled well, and we were right there with them, just putting up a lot of noise. I was expecting a lot more people to be in that crowd. Like I say, it could have been because of the weather, too, cold, rainy. But I really expected that place to be rocking. And but I still think it was good energy up there, and I enjoyed it. Just seeing little, kids all around the stadium, just leaned over the banner. But I thought it was pretty good, and don't get me wrong, that band is awesome up there. They're number one band for a reason. They're pretty good.
Yeah, and also, I will say this, that they probably got the like, what there's actually someone, like I was gonna see if I could try to find someone who could get, like, a midfield logo picture for me because, in my opinion, their logo's got one has one of the that's one of the best logos I've ever seen.
I agree.
Um, yeah, but the other thing about it is, like, this is y'all's first meeting with Elizabethton, um and of course, y'all probably would have. Of course, this was. I think this was before your time. Yeah, this was before your time because I was a senior when you were a freshman.
Mm,
Um, but in 22, Gibbs needed to defeat South Doyle, which they did, and they needed a Carter win over Fulton, which Carter won over Fulton. Had that not happened, Gibbs would have traveled to Elizabethton.
mm.
But then, of course, with that win, they ended up hosting Granger instead, which I can't really say hosted because you didn't have a stadium. So it's
Right.
basically a neutral site game. And hey, speaking of, sorry for interruption here, but if y'all want to hear a little story of the No Stadium Tour in the future, if you'd be interested on me talking about that, let me know down in the comments because I really think that's really going to be an interesting story for me to tell. Um, yeah, but then they end up playing Granger at a neutral site, and then of course all road ends at Greenville, and then, of course, now y'all start playing Elizabethton this time, and I have to say that Elizabethton, like, they went to the state championship game 3 years in a row from 2019 to 2021,
Oh yeah.
um, but however, the 2021 season, like, they lost to Tullahoma, like, in 2020, 2019, they upset Greenville.
Yep.
They beat Greenville 2020, but in 2021 regular season, they get blown out by Greenville. And then when it's time for Greenville to play Elizabethton again, Elizabethton wins on making a Greenville defensive lineman jump,
Mm,
and then they go to the state championship game for the third year in a row where they lose to Tullahoma in a double overtime heartbreaker, and
mm.
then most of the guys on that team graduated, and then Elizabethton just, of course, had an off year, but then they ended up getting some of their strength back. And I say, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say Elizabethton's bad or anything. I'm just trying to say that, because Elizabethton's a good team. Like,
Mm.
whenever they have an off year, they seem to pick it right back up.
Right.
And that's just another thing. Like, that, what I was thinking, I was like, what kind of an Elizabethton team are we going to see? And and y'all did something that worked because y'all, let me do the math real quick. Y'all had a 21-3 lead heading into halftime.
Hmm.
And they didn't y'all held Elizabethton scoreless in the first quarter. And all I have to say is what did y'all notice, like, about them? Like, basically, like, I understand, like, we mentioned, like, earlier when you go out there for the first time, but what did y'all notice about them, like, on the field compared to on film?
On film, they kind of look the same, but they kind of lit it up a little bit more on film, which it could have just been because they were playing a different defensive style. I think our defense showed a lot of good looks, and I think they balled out. I think they just couldn't establish anything yet, and that early on in the first half, they really couldn't. Uh, their running game, it was sort of there, but it wasn't clicking. There'd be one good play every once in a while, but that was their main thing was their team who establishes the run and then they'll open their playbook up. And but our defense really didn't let them establish it, and they were kind of like, oh, what are we gonna do? And I don't know. Our defense just balled out, and they did good, and they continued it in the second half. But that's when they established a run game, and they kind of picked their offense up a little bit, and then they started throwing it. Um, but yeah, on film, which they play a lot of different teams than we do, different defensive sets, and but they were able to run it all over a couple defenses and throw it over some others. So I think our defense just combined, with a combined, they play good run defense and really good pass defense. So I just think it was rough playing against our defense. We're unique. We can line up in a bunch of different sets. So I think I think with them playing a defense like that, I think it was hard to establish either a run or a pass game.
Yeah, and also like I mentioned, of course, y'all score the final points for y'all in the third quarter, and then
Right.
Elizabethton starts trying to come back like in desperation. And like we mentioned, of course, here's the scoring summary. First quarter, nothing for Elizabethton, three for Elizabethton in the second quarter, and then seven each in the third and fourth quarter. Um, and what'd you say, like, like, 'cause I don't know if you heard of this term, at halftime, but there are some coaches who say, "Hey, good job in the first half, because in the second half, you're gonna get the best this team has to offer."
Oh yeah.
Like, what do you think, like, would you compare Elizabethton to during the second half to the first half?
They definitely had a chip on their shoulder. They had never been in that situation at home at all. Actually, their home record since building that stadium is like 65-7.
Mhm.
So I mean, they're crazy good at home, and that was just a different feeling to be down like they were at half. Um, they just felt. I think they felt like somebody just they realized somebody just came into their home turf, and they just started pretty much just going off on them, and it was different, something they hadn't experienced all season. And so I think their coach, definitely realized, like, it wasn't over. And we realized that too. I know our coaches, all they were like, all they said was, you know, congrats on being up as much as you are at half, but you just wait till the second half. You haven't seen Elizabethton yet. And that was true. They came out second half, and like I said, they looked like Elizabethton. They started lighting it up on the passing game, and their running game. They just picked it up tremendously. So you could definitely tell a difference in the first half of Elizabeth and the second half.
Yeah, and there's also another thing I wanna briefly mention, of course, that, they get a touchdown along with the penalty, and then they go for the onside kick, and I'm just gonna be honest, so I hear saying like I said, I was only able to hear the audio only, but, like, the way they said, like, 'cause it looked like, according to the announcer, they said that Elizabethton got it and then Gibbs somehow came up with it. Do you mind explaining, like, a bit of what happened there, if you can remember?
Okay, so it was crazy. So I'm on the front line actually, and I see the kicker getting set. He's obviously going onside. Everybody knows it. And he of course he does a top kick, and it's just spinning and it's bouncing, and hits one of our guys, and it shoots completely the other way. And all they had to do was just pick it up, and the ball went right through the kicker's legs, and two other of their guys missed it. And me and another guy, we were right there, and he jumped on it, and I covered him up. It was crazy. That ball was just, it looked like a pinball machine. It was just all over the place. And they had a couple opportunities to just pick it up, and they could have had a game tying drive. But, like I said, it was just all chaos. All chaos.
And also I'm just curious, who's the guy who picked it up?
Camden Beeler.
Hey, that's, yeah,
Heck
um,
yeah.
yeah, and if y'all, don't know, like, Camden and I, like, we're really good friends, so, yeah. Um, yeah, so Camden, came clutch in the Carter game, and I remember
Yeah.
actually talking to Camden after the Carter game. He said, that the defense ran right through him. I said, "Hey, you did great. You got the game-winning interception. You did good." And then I think he feels like he redeemed himself now
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But, but I will say this though, that, like, y'all end up, getting a few firsts, and then y'all are just able to kneel it out, and what's going through your mind, like, when you beat them? We're like, "Oh my gosh, we just upset Elizabethton," or, "We just beat Elizabeth, and we're going on to round 2." Like, what's going through y'all's minds?
Well, I could say that our team, throughout all of our minds, it was different than what a lot of maybe the fans and other people were thinking. So going into that game, everybody's thinking Elizabethan, they're good. This is going to be like an upset if we beat them. And I didn't. I think me and a lot of other guys, we didn't think it would be an upset. I thought we matched up with them pretty good actually. Uh, just that 2-3 seed, it really didn't give enough context to it. Honestly, I would put us together in kind of the same category. two high scored offenses. But I don't know. That was just it was just crazy, man. It was just I didn't feel like an upset. It felt like just another day in the office, honestly.
hmm And and also like I know that's probably a long shot, but like if you were to go back to that day, like what would you think like oh sorry let's rewind I don't know what I was thinking there because the game was just 2 days ago
Yeah.
but but what did Coach Turner say to you before y'all got onto the bus like about the game
Well, he said that it was going to be a battle, and it was all about the team who was most physical, and the team that could keep that physicality up the whole game. And I think, and that's exactly what it came down to. Our D line and offensive line kind of, it started with them, and I think we whipped them throughout the whole game. And I think it was just big for them to play like they did, but it was just all about the physicality and the mental focus. Whatever team could keep their mental focus, and stay smart throughout the whole game. Minimal penalties and just hold on to the ball, no turnovers. They would win that game, and that stays true every game pretty much, and it sure did. But just I think setting a goal every time before you travel, and completing that goal, that feels a lot better too.
All right, and of course, I bet the bus ride back was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wonder. This moves us on to our next segment. Of course, finding out the results of Macon County and Red Bank. Macon County ends up attempting a comeback, and I was actually watching this game. Recovered an onside kick. They're in field goal range, potentially send it to overtime, but then wide left.
Yep.
Um, what was your reaction like when seeing that? Like, would you say like, man, we could have had a home game 2 weeks in a row? Uh,
Right.
yeah. So what were y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, so as soon as we went in for halftime, uh, Coach Beeler, we were checking up on that game, and I think it was 24-14, something like that. Uh, it just looked like Macon County just wasn't going to do it. Um, and we got back in from the game, actually, and we just heard that Macon County had a chance to win, and they just missed a field goal. So we went back and watched it. Me and Beeler went back and watched it, and just watching that, man, it just shows you what high school football can be. It can either be crazy game, or it can be what you truly believe it will be.
Yeah, and like we mentioned with Red Bank, like this the second meeting between Gibbs and Red Bank. First time was actually when Coach Conley was coaching back in '09, so 16 years ago. But I don't think, but Red Bank back then, of course, like I will say this that Red Bank back then, um, I think I was studying like Greenville history a little bit a few years ago, and Greenville actually said we upset the top team in 4A at the time, and that just yeah. So I was like, okay, no wonder why Gibbs didn't win back then. But
Yeah.
like now we take a look at Red Bank though. They're they started the season actually like before we go into the halfway point, they go 1-4 in the season, even losing to South Pittsburgh, which I will say this, like no hate on them, but South Pittsburgh's a 1A school,
Hmm.
and even though they're like a top team, like of course, you can lose to like schools like in lower ranked than you, but
Right.
I'm just saying like with South Pittsburgh a championship contender, like I expected to be a little more close, but of course South Pittsburgh wins 31-7, and of course I'm gonna list Red Bank's wins real quick. Of course, they did defeat East Ridge 47-6. They they defeated Signal Mountain 34-15, which was district. Um, defeated Hickson 27-17, district.
Hmm.
McMinn County, non-district, but they did win 21-11 in an upset. Defeated Sequoia 49-0, district. And then they defeated Loudon, district 42-7. and then of course they barely beat Macon County. And now, according to On3, they have Red Bank winning 26-24 over Gibbs. Um, and all I have to say is this: is that of course, like now, I can see why they're saying that. Of course,
Right.
home team, and in my opinion, it's harder for the away team to win. But what's your all's mindset heading into this game? Like, of course, Main County. I'm sorry, not Main County. Red Bank, excuse me. 7-4, but like that Northview game back in 2023. It kind of showed that you can't be just seeing the results every week.
Right.
Uh, so what do you do when you all go down to Chattanooga? What do y'all do to get to to advance to the third round?
I think we have the same preparation that we did last week. Same kind of practice. Stay focused all throughout the week, and when game day rolls around, I think you stay serious. You get on that bus. Well, actually, you have your pregame talks. A couple hours before you even have that game. We're in the team room talking. I think we got to be locked in there. Just understanding what really is ahead of us and what really could do for the program. But as soon as that bus ride hits, I think you're focused. But like I said earlier, you kind of want to be loose and you kind of want to just you know understand that you're with you're with your guys, and this is kind of like you're just having fun playing football. I think you kind of want to release some of that stress. But no, I think we prepare the same that we did last week. Um, but Red Bank's a good team. But I think if we do what we're supposed to do, um, I think we can beat anybody in the playoffs. But there's no bad teams left. That's what we always say. There's no bad teams left. You always have to go through a good team to advance. So I'm excited to get to play them. They're in it for a reason, and it just shows like um, you know a lot of teams. They can have a chance at going all the way.
Yeah, and of course I'm trying to get the bracket pulled up here. Yeah, I don't know why just everything just hates me right now. But of course, like there aren't really any shocking results really in the playoffs though. But I will say this though, Volunteer keeping it close with Anderson County though.
Mhm.
Like I will say I did not expect that to happen. Like they only now the score they will say like I will say it was technically still a blowout, but it wasn't by much. It was
Yep.
only like 27-14. So I'm not really, I'm not really just say like what I'm just saying is I'm not really sure that, in the playoffs, I don't think you can count any of these guys out, is what I'm
Right.
saying. But I will say a volunteer ended up having a very good season,
Oh yeah.
and they were really underdogs is really what they were because they hadn't won a game since 2022.
Right.
And they end up defeating everybody up until you get to Greenville and Elizabethton, of course, and you get to the Hawkins County Super Bowl basically. And hey, NFL, that's fair use. That's fair use.
Mm.
um, and and so it also and then they end up losing to Cherokee 55-33. So that makes, of course, them having to travel to Anderson County.
Right.
And so now Anderson County is going to be playing Stone Memorial, which honestly I think will be a good game. Greenville's going to be
Right.
playing White County. Of course, y'all are playing Red Bank. And then this one here, I'd watch Upperman and Alcoa
Right.
because Alcoa's going to have to travel to Upperman, which I will say this Upperman's actually not that bad.
No, they're pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that Upperman, they were able to keep it close to Greenville, and Greenville was actually able to keep it close to Sevier County, and Sevier County, of course, was able to blow out opponents like crazy, with the exception of that Grace loss, really. Um, so I think really, like when we talk about, of course, when I talked to you earlier in the season, like I don't know if you remember that interview, but like what was the challenges going to be with Heritage, Union County, Alcoa joining the region? Um, like I personally think that Upperman could potentially put the upset on Alcoa,
Hmm.
but it's going to be one interesting game to say the least.
Yeah.
Um, But however, the bracket that I think is more important for you all is that if you all win against Red Bank, then the winner of that game you will host.
Hmm.
So yeah, and more than likely it's probably going to be Alcoa, but however, I wouldn't rule out Upperman here. So
Right.
yeah, and I think that's really all I got for this playoff talk. But before we end this, I'm going to include one final segment. Um, like I remember I asked Seth Sieber and Keith Jones this. Keith and Seth both agreed, like, of course, that something had to be done after that South Doyle loss.
Yep.
And of course, y'all lost Alcoa, which honestly was not surprising because
Right.
Alcoa, the 10-time state champion, defending 10-time state champion.
Right.
And then y'all end up playing South Doyle, and then just like in your opinion, what do you think went wrong that game?
Well, honestly, it's been so long. It just I always keep that game close because you know I think that just it just didn't show who we really were. Um, there's a couple guys that really stood out in that game, but at the same time, it's like I felt that we didn't really play as bad as you would think. I think South Dole just got real hot that night. Um, and honestly, I didn't think South Dole was that bad of a team. Which later on in the season, it looked like they were pretty bad because they ended up losing their quarterback again to a season-ending injury. But I didn't think they were that bad of a team, actually, as people were saying. But it looked real bad on us. But I think right after that loss, something did need to be said and done, and it worked. I think after that we end up winning out, and
Y'all beat
I,
Anderson County for the first time since '92, and
right,
Anderson County was, and all three actually, I think had Anderson County winning 49-14,
yeah, it was
and
gonna be a blowout, yeah.
then ended up, and I kept up with the game, but I will say this that, like, and I'm not gonna try to talk too much about it because I mean I'm not trying to because I know you got school tomorrow and yeah, but I do think this that of course when y'all did defeat Anderson County, I think it made a statement on a lot of people in 4A. I think it made them realize that okay, Gibbs is actually a force to be reckoned with now.
Hmm.
And y'all end up winning out. Y'all make the playoffs. Y'all now take down Elizabethton. Now you're going to be playing Red Bank, and then if you beat Red Bank, you're going to be at home. So yeah.
Right.
But and there's one more thing that I will ask before we end this. Would you say like if y'all were to play Alcoa again, do you think that of course, like, do you think of course that you've learned a bit more enough about them now to potentially keep it close with them?
Oh yeah. Which I will say, playing them third game of the year, and that kind of being our real district opener. I think that's rough on a team whenever you get to play somebody like them early in the season because I know we hadn't established who we really were yet. Um, I think game 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way out. I think is when we really knew who we were, and we established our team. But playing a team like that early, it's hard to beat them when like I said earlier in a preseason interview. Um, we didn't really know what our strong points were going to be yet. We had a new team pretty much, a bunch of new starters, so we were still figuring things out. And you know, after that game, I think we kind of figured out a little bit who our team was. But as season rolled on, I think we figured out who it was. But yeah, now I think playing them, we know our strong points and weaknesses, and I think we have the ability to keep it close, 100%.
Yeah, and also I have to say this, like regardless of what happens this game, well, regardless if y'all end up beating Red Bank, losing to Red Bank, still a successful season,
Oh yeah,
a season of rebounding, a season of upset, but a season of basically, of proving the doubters wrong, basically.
yeah,
And that's why, I think, of course, regardless of the outcome of really any of the remaining games, that if y'all play anymore, it's still going to be a successful season for y'all. And that's just
yeah.
what I want to say about that. Yeah.
Hmm.
And all right, guys. Fortunately, we have to cut it short tonight. yeah, thanks for watching. If y'all like this video, get a like, subscribe for more interviews, and of course more high school football content. Tucker, thank you again for joining me tonight.
Yep. Appreciate it.
Um, and yeah, and good luck this week. And
Thank you.
yeah, with all that being said, peace out. God bless, and have a good night.